YouTube, capital G here, checking out some excellent legacy support that just got revealed coming out of Rise of the Duelist. Looks like a multitude of archetypes are going to be getting some legitimate support, including Mathmech, Tenyi, Dragonmaids, Machinae. They're all going to be getting cards that are relatively good in my book. In fact, some of these cards are really promising, and I think they will make the deck significantly better. Anyways, let's go ahead and start breaking them down. I'm going to start with the new Mathmech monster. This is Mathmech Diameter. It's a level 4 Light Cyber's tuner monster. 1000 attack, 1500 defense. Your first and second effects are hard once per turn, but you can stack them in the same turn. First effect says, when this card is normal summon, you can target one level 4 Cyberse monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot activate its effect. Second effect says, a Mathmech Synchro or Exceed summoned using this card as material gains this effect. Once per turn during the turn, it was special summon. When an opponent's card or effect is activated, and this is a quick effect, you can negate that effect. Okay, so this card feels absolutely great. I think I'm going to go ahead and state the obvious. This is a 1-card level 8 Synchro monster, or you can also go for a 1-card rank 4 Exceed. Both of those are obviously very strong. The Mathmech archetype has a level 8 Synchro monster. You have a rank 4 Exceed that you can straight go into just off the normal summon of this card. Those are obviously really strong plays. This card also has just innate synergy with Signet Mining, which of course you are running in Mathmech, so even if you're going for your first turn, you could easily just, I don't know, discard one of your Mathmech monsters, search this guy out, and then Monster Reborn, the Mathmech monster that you just used as discard for your Signet Mining, so the plays are definitely there. This card also feels like it's really good in the mid to late game, like after turns 2, 3, as the game goes on. This card just becomes more and more valuable, and then also it gives your Synchro or your Mathmech Exceed monster a little bit of negation. If you're going to drop that level 8 Mathmech Synchro monster and your opponent has some type of response, they have some type of card to stop it, some type of defensive disruption card, you can just go ahead and negate that card for free during the turn that you just dropped that Synchro or Exceed monster. So honestly, this feels probably like a 2 of in the archetype. I think it could be good turn 1, it could be good, you know, turn 2, turn 3, anytime basically. The only downside with this card is the fact that it doesn't allow the Mathmech that you Monster Reborn to activate its effects, and you might miss out on some very powerful effects like being able to double the attack of your Mathmech monster, etc, etc. But it's still a 1-card playmaker, and that's the most important thing about this card, so I definitely like it. Anyways, let's talk about the Tenyi quick play spell. This is Dragon Cycle of Celestial Illusions. It's a quick play spell, and it's got a hard once per turn on both of the effects. The first effect says, tribute 1 worm monster, add 1 worm monster from your deck to your hand. If you tributed a non-effect monster to activate this card, you can special summon it with its effect negated instead of adding it to your hand. Second effect, if you control a non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Tenyi card from your deck to your hand. Okay, so honestly, this is one of those cards that doesn't technically have to hit the field. You don't actually have to use this card on the field. I think the graveyard effect is exceptional in Tenyi. Look, Tenyi has some very powerful spell and trap cards, most notably their Infernity Barrier, which is excellent, their field spell that lets you draw 2 cards during your opponent's turn. Those cards are really strong, but sometimes the Tenyi deck doesn't always have access to them, especially like the counter trap. If you can now get this guy in the graveyard and then simply, banish this card from the graveyard to use that effect and tutor those cards instantly, that's really damn strong. And keep in mind, their Link 2 does require a discard, so you could easily use this for that. So obviously, this card is solid in the Tenyi deck, maybe like a 2 of. I do like the fact that you can even summon that monster during the battle phase because this card is a quick play and still attack with that monster. But let us not forget, you could actually play this card in the Phantasm and Spiral deck. You guys remember that archetype from Maximum Crisis, I believe it is, with Pacifist and all that good stuff. Number 1, that deck does not play any effect monsters pretty much at all, and Pacifist does give you a token that does happen to be a worm monster, so you really can always activate the condition to use this card. You can kind of always activate it. That'll get your token off field so that when your opponent does something else, you can just get yourself another token and get more searches. Also, you can search Mystery Shell Dragon, which is a 2000 attack vanilla worm monster, so you do actually have illegal targets. And in the past, the Phantasm Spiral deck has actually played the Tenyi counter trap, and that has actually made it to like a regional top 8 finish, so that gives you a search option from the graveyard as well. Again, they don't play any effect monsters, so they can use pretty much all the Tenyi cards in conjunction with their inherent support. So this could actually be like a sleeper card in Phantasm Spiral as well. Overall, I think I like this card a lot. Next up, we have a new Dragonmaid trap card, which is so much better than the other Dragonmaid trap. This is Dragonmaid Clean Up. It's a normal trap, and both of your effects are hard once per turn, but you can use them in the same turn. Your first effect says target one dragon monster you control and one card your opponent controls or has in their graveyard, return them to the hand. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, but return it to the hand during the end phase. So this card is awesome because number one, it is just straight up disruption against your opponent. You can either bounce a card your opponent has on their field, or you can actually bounce one of their cards in the graveyard to their hand. Maybe your opponent's trying to like Monster Reborn one of their monsters, and that's their only like legitimate play. Putting that card in their hand may actually stop them, but most of the time I imagine just bouncing one of their monsters back to their hand is going to be pretty devastating if you use it at the right time. This also returns one of your Dragonmaid monsters to your hand so that maybe you can normal summon it during your next turn, activate the effect, etc, etc. The second effect is also incredibly good on this card because it's just a free Monster Reborn for any of your Dragonmaid monsters. Now you can special summon from your hand if you want, but I really like the fact that since you can special summon from the hand or graveyard, it means that it doesn't target, so your opponent has no idea what the heck you're trying to summon. But obviously getting a free Monster Reborn is always going to be good, and it doesn't even restrict you to levels, so you could actually summon like the fusion monster, your House Dragonmaid. Speaking of the fusion monster, House Dragonmaid, both of these effects, since they bounce your monsters, both of the effects will actually trigger House Dragonmaid as well. This feels like an excellent card, and if you happen to have House Dragonmaid on the field, off the first effect, you're basically getting a double disruption because you get to bounce one of your opponent's cards, and then you can also use House Dragonmaid to blow up one of your cards because one of your little Dragonmaid monsters is getting bounced to your hand. So to me, this is so much better than the other trap card. And now to me, it feels like Dragonmaids are starting to get to the level where they have enough disruptive cards, especially with the second fusion monster coming that just has a free built-in Infernity Barrier. Kind of feels like Dragonmaids are getting enough good defensive cards to stop what your opponent wants to do. Honestly, I might start picking up Dragonmaids. I mean, it does kind of suck that we're not getting this stuff until August, but like the support that Dragonmaids are getting in Eternity Code and Rise of the Duelists, like it's definitely like good stuff. Anyways, let's move to the Machinae cards. The first one we have is Machinae Resurbrake. This is a level 4 Dark Machine monster, 1200 attack, 1800 defense. Both of your effects are hard once per turn, but use them in the same turn if you will. First effect says it's a quick effect. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Target one Machinae monster you control. It gains 1200 attack into the end of the turn. Second effect, when a Machinae monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle and this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. Okay, so this card reminds me a lot of Salamangreat Great Raccoon. I know I'm probably the only Salamangreat Great player in history who ever ran that card, but I kind of like cards like this, these little battle phase tricks that not only can have like nice little utility effects, but then you can get them back from the graveyard relatively easily. I mean, usually in Yu-Gi-Oh decks, you're going to be running over your opponent's monsters at some point, and being able to recover that monster from the graveyard for free, definitely kind of nice. I do like the fact that since it's only a 1200 attack point gain, you can use this card when monsters aren't even battling each other. Your monsters can just be attacking your opponent directly, and then later, you know, maybe during your next turn, you can run over your opponent's monster and just get this guy back from the graveyard. I do like cards like this. It's kind of a shame that you can't go Blackwing, you know, back during the 5Ds era and drop like 3Ds in a turn on your opponent, because that used to be the most fun thing ever to do. But I definitely like this card. I mean, if Machinas are going to be a deck that primarily, like, their best removal outside of, I guess, some of their destruction effects are going to just be running your opponent's monsters over by battle, I could definitely feel, or I could see this being like a pretty decent card. I mean, it's not like the biggest impact ever, but I just like recyclability in a card. I've always have, and this card feels okay. And our final card is actually a Union support card. It's called Unauthorized Device Malfactor, level 1. Dark Machine monster, 0 defense, 500 attack, and it is a Dark Attribute monster. I forget if I said that or not. Anyway, second effect, hard once per turn. First effect says once per turn, you can either target one face-up monster you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. Second effect, if this card that is currently equipped to a monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card. I guess you kind of have to admire how generic this card is. You can equip it to any monster in the game. That monster doesn't have to be a Union monster or anything like that. That's what I think Konami's going for. I think they're going for a card that feels fairly low impact, but a card that has the ability to kind of equip itself to any monster in the game. Like if you have a boss monster, just giving it a little teeny level of protection might be nice. And then if your opponent does take the monster down, this guy can potentially special summon itself for free. And maybe if it lives, it can protect one of your other monsters during your turn, because you can just re-equip it to that monster. But definitely feels like a card that's not super high impact, but I think it's supposed to make up for that by being a fairly versatile card. Anyways, whatever you guys think of this support, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already. Also, turn on that notification bell for daily videos.